DC Comics. It's kind of cool that the bats all swarm around to form the bat logo for a brief instance, but I'd argue that this much of anything would create a momentary bat logo. Bruce survives this, or at the very least is less damaged than he should be, at least physically. This prison fight is totally fine until they start punching each other in the mud. You can't tell who anybody is anymore. And the movie cuts from one shot to the next as if the island from Lost will explode if they don't. I mean, in one shot they're shooting the action with sheets in front of the camera. Liam Neeson isn't killing anyone in this scene.
How do you know my name?
The world is too small for someone like Bruce Wayne to disappear, no matter how deep he chooses to sink.
I'm going to remember this when he fakes his own death at the end of The Dark Knight Rises and he's sitting at a cafe and nobody recognizes him except Alfred.
There is a rare blue flower that grows on the eastern slopes.
Not going to tell you exactly where on the eastern slopes. I'm sure that is more than enough description to get you to the exact part of the eastern slopes where you need to be. Does Bruce's bag have magical powers or legs? Because it gets from here to here in between cuts.
Tiger, Jiu-Jitsu, Panzer.
Taekwondo! Am I playing the random shouting of martial arts styles and animals game correctly? Thomas Wayne rappels down a well to save Bruce, and it looks like he's got the ropes tied to these tree branches just above the opening. Where the fuck was that tree when we saw Bruce hiding earlier? It's an old well surrounded by a brick wall and a bunch of these shrubs and bushes and shit.
Will we be needing an ambulance, Master Wayne?
I'll set the bone and take him for an x-ray later.
Yeah, sure. Why take the chance going to the hospital? You know, I heard someone died at a hospital once.
Why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up.
Also, we fall because of the shoddy work someone did in sealing off that well. That's also a reason.
People less fortunate than us have been enduring very hard times. So we build a new, cheap public transportation system to unite the city.
A cheap transportation system is going to unite the city? F***ing how? And what does uniting the city have to do with people's financial struggles?
And at the center, Wayne Tower.
I might be generous, but I also have a fucking ego. Also, the trains lead to Wayne fucking Tower, as if that's the most efficient way to map out your mass transit system. Do all the trains operate in front of Wayne Tower, or are there more tracks behind it that go to other areas of Gotham? Either way, this transit configuration raises more questions than it answers. It's really fucked up that Thomas took his bat-phobic kid to this opera full of bats. The Wayne family takes the back exit into an abandoned alley where multiple murders have definitely happened, and on some nights, a handful of V for Vendettas. I don't know. I guess after the Tim Burton Batman and this big reboot of the franchise, I guess I was hoping for a different story that led Bruce down the path to becoming Batman. And we've seen this same scene so much since this came out. Ooh, 24-hour liquor.
Good news.
You were able to resurrect my parents' corpses and I don't have to lose them today?
We got him, son.
Oh, I guess that's good too. The funeral invitation said black umbrellas only, and also, weirdly, BYOB.
Do you still feel responsible for your parents' death?
My anger outweighs my guilt.
Does anyone in this fucking movie answer questions with a simple yes or no?
You know how to fight 6 men. We can teach you how to engage 600.
Oh, you cannot.
Ninja understands that invisibility is a matter of patience and agility.
Remo Williams, the Batman, begins. Also, Descartes explains the importance of being invisible during this montage, but not once do we see him learning any of that. Just a bunch of your typical fight training. To be honest, I'd love to see more of that than this mindless shit.
The man had a gun. Would that stop you? I've had training. The training is nothing.
But it's also the training and the will. Those aren't mutually exclusive. It just sounds real deep when I say something you think is important isn't all that important. We haven't grown up enough in 10 years not to point out this nipple bed.
In prison, he shared a cell with Carmine Falcone. He learned things.
What the f***? A murdering thief shared a jail cell with one of the most notorious gangsters in all of Gotham? How incredibly convenient for Bruce's revenge boner. And this whole movie they say how impossible it's been to put him in jail. But apparently he was in long enough for some dude to get details about his entire operation for the plot.
Justice is about harmony. Revenge is about you making yourself feel better. That is why we have an impartial system.
That's all well and good, but Rachel just explained that Falcone must have paid off the judge, and that's why Chill's hearing was public and eventually resulted in his murder. How in the fuck of anything is that impartial?
Oh, your system is broken.
I believe so much in this system that I will put our lives in danger by driving erratically in traffic to take this conversation into the underbelly of Gotham. I could have done this in a much safer way, but who cares? I'll prove my point even if it kills us. Jeez, they take one little trip underground and it suddenly turns from day to night in fucking seconds.
Good people like your parents who will stand against injustice, they're gone.
Didn't the DA just get a murdering criminal out on parole because he knew things about Falcone? Wouldn't he be a good people? And is Rachel really saying that Bruce's parents were keeping gangsters like Falcone at bay? How the fuck so? A fucking train?
Be careful who sees you with that. They're gonna come looking for me.
And Bruce thinks they'll mistake this much older and much hairier homeless man for himself because of a fucking coat.
Men fear most what they cannot see.
They also fear ninjas. A lot of them fear ninjas.
You have to become a terrible thought, a wraith. become an idea!
While these abstract concepts during Bruce's training sound pretty good, I think after this advice I'd be asking for my blue flower back. This is the kind of shit they put in the League of Shadows brochure, and you're like, hell yeah, I will become fear! And then all the instructors do is shout, you must become fear, as if saying it is as good as doing it.
Become one with the darkness.
You do that by opening this box full of bats. I don't make the rules.
You cannot leave any sign.
It's pretty awesome that Bruce sliced up some arms to match his own wound so that Ducard couldn't find him so easily. But my question is, if these soldiers are all in a formation of some sort, how does Bruce find an empty slot to blend in with everybody else?
Gotham must be destroyed.
I mean, is he talking about the whole city, innocent life included? Or is it about finding all the bad guys and killing them? I'm a little bit confused about the endgame here. The plan seems to be Phase 1, destroy Gotham. Phase 2, question mark. Phase 3, also question mark? Also, all this training Bruce got sure seems more like lone vigilante stuff than it is working with a team. Luckily, he was able to get all the training he needed to become Batman before they even introduced the idea of destroying a whole city with a ninja squad. Maybe they should have introduced the idea of killing this dude before they taught the lessons. For years, Ducard begged Ra's al Ghul to buy some fire extinguishers, considering the candles, branding iron, and explosive gunpowder all over this place, but his pleas went unheeded. And this is where we're at. A whole league of ninjas can't even put out this fire now.
What are you doing?
Apparently refusing to kill this one man and instead setting the place on fire and killing several more. Luckily for Bruce, all the major explosions happen in other places while he runs through the building so that he can survive this. Bruce somehow catches up to Ducard after this, even though Ducard is already halfway down the slope.
In the Depression, your father nearly bankrupted Wayne Enterprises combating poverty.
Holy f***, how far back does this story go? We're in the modern day, right? And Thomas Wayne died roughly 20 years ago and was still kind of a young man. The Depression was from 1929 to 1939. Maybe he means some earlier fictional depression. Okay, here's a sin.
I assume that as you're taking on the underworld, this symbol is a persona to protect those you care about from reprisals.
You're thinking about Rachel?
Actually, sir, I was thinking to myself.
Michael Caine is the f***ing best. Someone doesn't know how to spell methamphetamine correctly, yet it is spelled correctly in the body of the article. What the f***, Mary McKenzie? I mean, it's probably your title writers and not you, but what the f***, Mary McKenzie? Batman Begins steals the bats flying around our protagonist scene from Morbius. Also, Jesus Christ, this is a f*** ton of bats. Why is this place so special? Bats mostly eat insects, so is Wayne Manor the f***ing bug capital of the world or some shit? God damn.
Earl told me exactly what it was when he sent me down here. Dead end. Place to keep me from causing the board any more trouble.
Which makes you wonder why Earl didn't just fire Fox, especially considering later in the movie he does it for what seems like almost no reason at all.
Kevlar utility harness, gas-powered magnetic grapple gun.
Even though Bruce is here for the Nomex survival suit, Lucius goes straight to the Batman starter kit for some reason.
And then quite separately, we place an order to a Chinese company for these.
There's a company that mass produces bat ears or things that look like bat ears? For what fucking reason? Why can't Bruce wait until he gets his other costume parts in before he starts Batmaning?
Do you have any lightweight fabrics?
Earlier, when Bruce and Alfred were using dummy corporations to buy things as simple as the cowl and bat ears, I thought, why the f doesn't he just ask Lucius to make something? Or at least try to find something similar in the Applied Sciences warehouse. But then I thought, maybe he doesn't want Lucius to get suspicious about the stuff he's asking for, even though he's already suspicious. But now he's asking for lightweight fabrics that do some crazy shit, and now I'm wondering why they couldn't just find or make a Batman mask in this place. It takes over an hour for Batman to begin. Also, I can totally buy Batman was able to throw one of his bat-shaped throwing stars and take out one of the lights, but how did he angle it from up above where it would swoop down and then swoop back up to take out a second light? Because that is some bullshit.
Where are you?
Here.
Okay, that's all the awesome. Also, I'm not going to ask how Batman is able to do this because he's Batman. I mean, after all, we saw him get trained at the League of Shadows, where Liam Neeson repeatedly told him that he has to become invisible or some shit. So it must have happened, even though we never saw Bruce actually practicing it. Whoa, was he actually invisible during the invisibility training scenes and I just didn't see him? All right, hell yeah, we're going to see Batman fighting a whole bunch of dudes. Can't wait to see Tom Wilkinson walking around the shipyard. And when it does cut back to Batman beating ass, it's a fucking cluster of torsos and elbows. Can't see shit in this scene.
Falcone sent them to kill you.
Conveniently, the hit was scheduled right after I got done questioning Falcone in the middle of the night while his goons were preparing a drug shipment, and not before now. Jesus, who the f*** was that? Why bother showing us pictures when we can barely register who that was? I mean, yes, if I'm not watching it in a theater, I can rewind it and slow it down, but that interrupts the movie's flow, baby.
What the hell is that?
I don't know. Probably best not to think about it too much because that shadow is impossible. The spire behind Batman is topped off with some sort of ornamental architecture, and he's standing on a corresponding spire, which should have the same thing on it, and therefore shouldn't have any room to stand here. So I'm accusing Batman of destruction of property so that he can get his cool Batman watching over the city moment.
Even if these guys will swear in court to being thrashed by a giant bat, we've got Falcone at the scene. Drugs, prints, cargo manifests.
So they're finally able to get Falcone on charges that will stick because he was beaten and chained to a spotlight near some drugs? And you might have his prints on what? The chain of evidence would be ripped apart. You don't need to pay off cops in this case. An ambulance-chasing lawyer would have Falcone off in a couple hours.
Strange injuries and non-existent social life. These things beg the question as to what exactly does Bruce Wayne do with his time and his money?
Who's going to see Bruce Wayne during the non-existent social life and just happen to see him with his shirt off so that they can then question what he might be doing in private? Doesn't he then expose himself to more scrutiny the more people do see him in public?
The ship was carrying a prototype weapon. It's a microwave emitter.
But why is it on a ship? If this is a device Wayne Enterprises buried, then why isn't it downstairs with all the other shit Lucius Fox is looking over?
The damage to the ship was catastrophic. The weapon itself is,
Missing.
These guys turned on a weapon that destroyed the ship that it was on. So how was there anybody left to steal the weapon after the boat sank into the sea? Why would you even turn a weapon on while on the ship instead of just stealing the ship or the weapon itself and sending the weapon wherever you needed it to go?
I'm buying this hotel.
Bruce seems to be unclear on the concept of how buying hotels works because he thinks stuffing a check into the jacket pocket of the host accomplishes that goal. But mostly, I don't know how this asshole socialite act is supposed to be a cover for being Batman.
Probably looking for the insanity plea.
Falcone has everybody in his pocket for the most part, so nothing matters. But it's extremely odd that he can plead insanity when the charge is he was in the area where a drug shipment was getting prepared. No one will be seated while Jim Gordon takes out the trash.
Storm's coming.
A storm's coming, cliche.
Where were the other drugs going?
We always make fun of how intense this line rating is, but what I want to know is, why didn't Batman figure this out before he started beating everybody the f*** up at the pier? He could have asked Flash or Falcone while he was there, or he could have simply followed where the drugs went.
Listen, counselor, we don't want to know what's in Mr. Falcone's crate.
Things are working a little differently now. Open it up.
Maybe things are starting to turn for the good guys, but Finch knows Falcone has a lot of people on his payroll, so why would he turn his back on any officer holding a gun? I'm not saying Finch deserved to die, but I'm also not saying he didn't deserve to die.
The other kids won't believe me.
Here you go, kid. Have some unsanctioned Wayne Enterprises tech that will tie everything potentially back to me, get Lucius Fox fired, and the kids probably still won't believe you. It's awesome Batman found the place where they send the teddy bears full of drugs, but how did he get that from such limited information? Flash told him that the drugs went to the Narrows, but he finds the actual apartment where the teddy bears are just from that.
Get rid of all traces.
Man, why haven't they already done that? Especially since there's a Batman now. Did they wait until they were ready to pour the chemicals into the water supply to destroy evidence?
You look like a man who takes himself too seriously.
And you look like a man who wasted his opportunity to unmask the Batman and find out his identity. I'm sure that decision won't come back to bite you in your sack-headed ass. I understand Batman's costume might be flame-resistant, but the exposed bottom half of his face wouldn't be. I was gonna say I'm on a roof somewhere in the middle of Gotham, but you can probably find me with less information, so we'll go with that. Then Alfred apparently does find Bruce with some amazing GPS or something. But how did he get Batman down off the roof and into a car without any help?
I just wanted you to know how hard it was. Bottom line, I synthesized an antidote.
Bruce has been out for 2 days, and his condition worsened after 1 day, which is when Alfred called Lucius. So Lucius studied Bruce's blood and synthesized an antidote in 1 day?
It is my birthday.
Let's talk about the ultra convenience of today being Bruce's birthday. He got poisoned 2 days ago, which means that he knows Jonathan Crane is in possession of a poisonous powder, and Lucius has created an antidote for his poison. These are 2 very important developments, because Rachel takes a call while at Wayne Manor that tips him off that she's about to visit Crane at the asylum, that he'll be there to save her when Crane tries to kill her, and there will be some antidote ready when Rachel gets poisoned.
You've gone to Arkham now. It's in the Narrows, Rachel.
But for some reason, Crane keeps his poisonous teddy bears in an apartment above King Joffrey.
I'm merging your department with Archives, and I'm firing you.
That's a super great way to motivate Fox to get all that info on your desk ASAP that you just asked for. Luckily for Batman, Rachel and Crane have this conversation on a level of the asylum where he could quietly listen to it using one of his bat gadgets.
This is where we make the medicine.
I know Crane intends to kill Rachel, but why bother telling her anything about the operation? It's amazing how often Batman lucks into an area with really high spaces so he can do his typical appear and disappear routine when fighting a bunch of people. Why the f*** has Batman been waiting for Gordon to show up here? Rachel doesn't have much time, but he has time to exposit drug facts to him when the clock is ticking.
Was he working for Falcone?
He meant it someone else. Someone worse.
But I'm not going to tell you who that is right now because movie.
What is that?
What? Does he ever do this again in this movie or future movies? Batman gets this massive bat distraction, and yet he makes Gordon haul Rachel down several flights of stairs with bats flying everywhere when he could just do it. Batman could have just murdered police officers doing this, and I'm not actually understanding how he didn't.
Who is this guy?
He's the Batman, asshat. Keep up. I think we're well past the point in the story where any of you would have to ask who he is.
He's not on a street, he's flying on rooftops!
Is this really how you describe the Tumbler's actions right now? Flying? You wouldn't say he's driving on rooftops and jumping from building to building? Batman causes so much destruction during this chase scene that he really has lived long enough to become the villain.
Rachel!
Martha!
I must have been at this for weeks. Gotham's entire water supply is laced with it.
Why haven't we felt the effects?
Must be a compound that has to be absorbed to the lungs.
The f*** you say? Does no one in the entire city of Gotham boil water? Of course they would have seen the effects. There would have been hundreds, if not thousands of hospital visits with patients reporting the same symptoms. Something would have been noticed before now.
She's downstairs sedated. I need you to take her home.
And you might want to tell him about the vials of antidote you set beside her on the table. Those are pretty crucial to the rest of the movie. It might be worth a mention to Alfred. Somehow he knows to leave him by her bedside table. This movie has made 47-year-old Gary Oldman and 72-year-old Michael Caine lift and carry Rachel to all sorts of places. And Alfred carried Batman off a roof at some point. Thank God for editing, because I'm not sure they'd be able to do it alone.
You're not Ra's al Ghul. I watched him die.
This is a perfectly normal thing to say in front of a party guest.
The apple has fallen very far from the tree, Mr. Wayne.
Sounds like this guy knows that apples and assholes are related.
The League of Shadows has been a check against human corruption for thousands of years.
Yes, we heard this earlier in the movie. I still don't know what you assholes really achieve when you destroy cities, and maybe that's the point. But it would be nice to understand why Ra's thinks destroying corrupt cities that he deems more corrupt than any other city makes any real difference in the world.
Every time a civilization reaches the pinnacle of its decadence, we return to restore the balance.
How is pinnacle of decadence measured?
You are defending a city so corrupt we have infiltrated every level of its infrastructure.
Sure can't try pulling this off in Dallas, that's for sure.
Tomorrow the world will watch in horror as its greatest city destroys itself. The movement back to harmony will be unstoppable this time.
Look, I'm just dissecting the words of a madman here, so for all I know, sending this is pointless, but I don't know how people aren't just gonna find out that the city's water supply was tainted with some sort of poison and blame it on that. It's not like it'll look natural, like Gotham hit some sort of tipping point that was inevitable. There will be people who survive, take blood tests, and the truth will come out.
You never did learn to mind your surroundings.
And I know how to start a fire that will make part of the ceiling fall directly on you and no one else in Wayne Manor. I'm Ra's al Ghul, bitch.
You burned my house and left me for dead.
He clearly did not. That asshole Ra's left one asshole to guard one asshole door at the asshole Wayne house. Luckily for Alfred, the fire in the mansion didn't spread to the exact path he needed to take to save Bruce. I mean, even the beam that was on fire a minute ago doesn't have fire on it until they go to the close-up, and it suddenly does. Either way, this is some bullshit fire. Michael Strain. Also, the next room is completely engulfed in flames, but guess what it saved? The secret room piano, of course.
Officer, I'm a Gotham City District Attorney. Let me pass.
Oh, so you're a Gotham City District Attorney? Say no more.
All right, last one across.
This officer doesn't even have the luxury of saying he's accepted bribes. He's just fucking stupid and never asks anyone for an ID.
I can't find my mom.
The only reason why Rachel ends up needing to be saved by Batman later is because the young kid from scene 24 asks this random asshole who just happens to be one of the bad guys about his mom. Why wouldn't Ra's and his men put on the face mask before setting off the emitter? I guess it takes a second for everything to take effect, but why take a chance?
No one's gonna hurt you.
Of course they are!
There's no way Scarecrow heard that because I barely heard that.
Crane?
And of course, Crane is at the exact place in Gotham City Rachel is because coincidence, thy name is Batman Begins. Jesus Christ, how did Batman know which bridge Gordon was on? Like, I barely believed Rachel knew which bridge he was on, but at least I think she could have asked somebody. Batman had no chance to ask somebody where he was.
The monorail follows the water mains to the central hub beneath Wayne Tower.
But I thought the train itself was built with Wayne Tower in mind. Are you saying the water mains, which were built before the train, all go to Wayne Tower too? The fucking fuck?
There's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Cillian Murphy gives a great performance and creates a terrifying villain, and this is how he goes out. At least they don't bring him back for a really scene in each of the sequels. So glad that never happens.
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
Bruce?
If you were going to let her know who you were, why not just say, "It's me, Bruce," instead of being so cryptic? Why are you wasting time like that, or even still using the Batman voice? You got a goddamn city to save from being poisoned. Awesome.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I've a city to destroy.
The real question is, why haven't you done that yet? If you've infiltrated Gotham's infrastructure, I don't know why you haven't already commandeered a train and had the microwave emitter do its thing under Wayne Tower yet. Or hell, just started there instead of taking the emitter here in the first place. Every fight scene in this movie is basically Christopher Nolan saying, ass was kicked and that's all you need to know, this bores me and it should you too.
Pressure's moving along the mains, blowing all the pipes. And if that pressure reaches us, the water supply right across the whole city is gonna blow.
This guy's here to tell you what you already know. If the train reaches Wayne Tower, then it will be bad. There's no reason for him to explain this, unless he won a contest to get a bigger role in the movie.
Who said anything about stopping it?
Wait, why did Batman even need to get on the train in the first place if Gordon was just gonna blow up the tracks? Maybe he's here just in case Gordon fails, but he doesn't seem to have an option to stop it up here, and he's really confident Gordon's going to do the job. This whole thing seems to be so that he can eventually say, nanny nanny boo boo stick your head in doo-doo when Ross fails. Also, a lot of people could have died in this situation. It's not like Gotham has a bunch of people evacuating places and telling them to avoid Wayne Tower, the apparent epicenter of the city.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
Having your murder and eating it too.
Batman may have made the front page, but Bruce Wayne got pushed to page 8.
Everything seems totally back to normal after one night where thousands of people got hallucinogens pumped into their systems. And while Lucius was working on antidotes, he couldn't have made enough by himself or even gotten help to make enough to cover all the people who got infected. It's like it's not even a problem. Loose millions. Also, the article mentions 4 generations of Wayne families living in the manor, but earlier in the movie, Alfred mentioned there were 6.
What makes you think you can decide who's running Wayne Enterprises?
There's no way that Earl didn't learn about all this before he got to work today.
Didn't you get the memo?
God damn, this movie loves throwing words back at people when someone gets revenge. Bruce got the
It's all a bit technical
line in. Batman got in the
You never learn to mind your surroundings
line. He even got Rachel back with the
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
Line when he was getting revenge on her. Odd that Bruce decides to seal this well now, after his whole goddamn manor just got burned down.
Your real face is the one that criminals now fear.
Well, your real face is Maggie Gyllenhaal after this, so eat shit. Rachel says, no fucking way to she and Bruce dating, but they emerge from that holding hands? I know we all love the bat signal, but for fuck's sake, it's 2005. Can't Gordon just call?
Leaves a calling card.
I mean, thanks for getting me excited about a new Batman, but how much better can it get?
Oh my God, you're ravaged.
This has gone on just long enough!
Makes you think I need a bath.
Well, I have acquired a pod in a game of chance, the fastest ever built.
Hobbies will put them to sleep.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you are looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
All creatures feel fear.
Do you know bees and dogs can smell fear?
Moments will be lost in time like tears in rain.
I'm gonna go. Do you want me to go f***ing trash your lights? Do you want me to f***ing trash them? Then why are you trashing my scene? I'm not trying to trash. You are trashing my scene.
You are done your table.
What the hell are you?
I'm Batman.
Bruce, help me out here, huh?
Come on, Bryce. There are a lot more important problems than Sri Lanka to worry about.
That's the same car that Ford and Shelby were building when Carol died. I'm looking at Corey's ghost.
The League of Shadows has been a check against human corruption for thousands of years.
You ask me if I have a God complex? Let me tell you something. I am God.
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my God. It even has a watermark.